I have a movie that I like to watch occasionally. It's with Charles Bronson, and it's called Hard Times. I lived in hard times, so I'm acquainted with that. It's a movie about a man that gets off of a train and runs into some people that are fighting, and they're betting money on it. And he's a ringer. He's real good at it. And he wins a lot of money, and he's involved with a very questionable character person. And he ends up fighting some real rough characters, dishonest, want to kill you type characters. Anyway, when he wins all the money, he ends up and giving his promoter, which was a crook, and the doctor that took care of him, money, and then walked away. And they couldn't believe he did this. Hard times. Hard times. David is going to go through some hard times here. Really terrible times. It's a time of political upheaval. And we're going to start 2 Samuel, the 15th chapter. Absalom means peace to the father. When David was given Absalom as son, a gift from God, David called him peace to the father. But Absalom was everything but peace to his father. He was an absolute denial of his name. He was a politician, a terrible, crooked, sociopathic son, not peace to the father. Now it came about after that Absalom provided for himself a chariot. Now, he had killed his brother. David banished him, and then Joab and others leaped together to bring Absalom back to the area, and he did, but he wouldn't see him. Finally he saw him, and began to undermine his father for the kingdom. Now it came about Absalom provided for himself a chariot and horses and 50 men as runners before him, announcing where he was coming, like a king. He's pretended to be the king. And Absalom used to rise early and stand beside the way to the gate, and happened about when a man came by, he had a suit or a dispute to come before the king for judgment. Absalom would call to him and say, "Oh, you're from what city are you?" And he would say, "And your servant is from one of the tribes of Israel." Then Absalom would say to him, "See, your claims are good and right, but no man listens to you on part of the king." Moreover, Absalom would say, "Oh, that one would appoint me judge in the land. And every man who has a suit or cause should come to me, and I would give him justice." I would give him justice. And it happened that when a man came near and prostrate himself before him, he would put out his hand and take hold of him and kiss him. And in the manner Absalom dealt with all Israel who came to the king for judgment. So Absalom stole away the hearts of the men of Israel. A lying, conniving politician. We see that so much in America, don't we? We had over 100 years of it. Terrible presidents that should have been in prison or executed for murder, and yet ruling and causing much more mayhem in the nation. Well, here we have it in ancient times between David and Absalom. David is going about to do right, to do good in Israel. He made a big mistake, you know, when he took Bathsheba for his wife. Now it came about at the end of 40 years that Absalom said to the king, "Please let me go and pay my vow, which I have vowed to the Lord in Hebron." Now, Hebron is where David ruled from at first, wasn't it? And for your servant vowed a vow while I was living in Jeshurun in Syria, saying, if the Lord shall indeed bring me back to Jerusalem, then I will serve the Lord. And the king said to him, go in peace. So he rose and he went to Hebron. And Absalom sent spies throughout all the land, all the tribes of Israel, saying, as soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, then you shall say, Absalom is king in Hebron. Absalom is king in Hebron. He lied to his father. He wants his father dead. He wants his father dead. 200 men went with Absalom from Jerusalem, who were invited and went innocently, so that they did not know anything that was about to happen. They went there, it's 200 men. And Absalom sent for Ahithophel, the Gilonite, and David's counselor from the city of Gilo. And while he was offering the sacrifice, and the conspiracy was strong, for the people increased continually with Absalom. David was innocent as a lamb sitting back there when all this was happening with his son. He wished his son well. He wished his son loved him. You know, you can raise a child, you can love that child no matter what you do, but it's up to the child to love you. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. And it just didn't happen here. Then a messenger came to David saying, the hearts of all the men of Israel with Absalom. Deceit. Deceit. David loved Absalom, but Absalom didn't love David. And David said to all his servants who were with him at Jerusalem, arise and let us flee. He's not going to fight his boy. He could have gone after him. He could have gone and just destroyed him right there. And really, that's what he should have done. But his heart got in the way. His heart got in the way of reason. For otherwise, none of us shall escape from Absalom. Go in haste, lest he overtake us quickly and bring down calamity upon us and strike the city with the edge of the sword. He's going to kill David and all of his supporters. Then the king's servant said to the king, behold, your servants are ready to do whatever your Lord chooses. So the king went out with all his household with him. But the king left 10 concubines to keep the house. 10 concubines. Concubines are wives. They're wives without any inheritance, basically. Their children would not be normally recognized as the king's sons, even though they are. Now you go back to 2 Samuel 12 and verse 11 now. Let's go back there for a moment. See what's going on here. This is what happened when Nathan talked to David. David had killed a man for his wife and had done it in deceit. Nathan then said to David, you are the man, thus saith the Lord God of Israel. It is I who anointed you king over Israel, and it is I who delivered you from the hand of Saul. I also gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your care. And I gave you the house of Israel and Judah, and if that had not been enough or been too little, I would have added to you many more things like these. And you despise the word of the Lord by doing evil in his sight. You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with a sword, and have taken his wife to be your wife, and have killed him with the sword of the sons of Ammon. And here he was a Hittite, but he followed you. He was your bodyguard, your personal bodyguard. And you killed him. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house, because you have despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Now by the way, Solomon would come from this issue. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against you from your own household. I will even take your wives before your eyes and give them to your companion, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight. Indeed, you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all Israel under the sun. And David said, I have sinned against the Lord. The Lord has taken away your sin. You shall not die, David. But this is the results of it right here. This is what's going to happen. Here we go. Now all the servants passed on beside him, and all the Cherethites, and all the Pelethites, and all the Gittites, 600 men who had come with him from Gath, passed on before the king. He had many mighty men. He didn't go after his son. He had many mighty men, mighty men. These were the heroes. Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, why will you also go with us? Return and remain with the king, for you are a foreigner, and also an exile. Return to your own place. You came only yesterday, and shall I today take you to wander with us, while I go where I will go? Return and take back your brothers. Mercy and truth be with you. But Ittai said to the king, as the Lord lives, and as my lord the king lives, surely wherever my lord the king may be, whether death or life, there also your servant shall be. You know, in the Roman army, a soldier was so loyal to the crown, to Rome. At one time, one man, one soldier, they were going to go to battle with some people, some other nation, and the edict was from the other nation, and the agreement with the Roman people, is the first soldier to die in battle, that soldier, when he dies, whoever he was for, there would be peace. Well, one of them, he said, I will go out, and he went out in the battle by himself, and he died out there, but he died fighting, and the battle was over. The war was over at that time, because he gave his life. And this man here is like that. He's going to give his life. He said, I will give my life, I will die with you, I'll live with you, and I'll die with you. Therefore David said to Ittai, go and pass over. So Ittai together passed over with all his men and the little ones who were with them, the little children. While all the country was weeping in a loud voice, all the people passed over. He didn't go fight the battle that he was going to have to fight. The king also passed over the brook Kidron, and all the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness. Now behold, Zadok also came, and all the Levites with him, carrying the ark of God. Zadok means basically righteousness, come from Zedek. Carrying the ark of the covenant of God, and they set down the ark of God, and Abiathar came up until all the people had finished passing over the city. These are the high priest. And Abiathar means the father of abundance. And the king said to Zadok, return the ark of God to the city. If I found sight in the Lord, then he will bring me back again and show me both it and his habitation. But if he should say, if he should say this, I have no delight in you, behold, here I am. Let him do to me as it seems good to him. David was such a humble person. When he sinned, when he repented, he said, let the Lord do whatever he's going to do with me. I deserve it. If he wishes me to go on the way I am, try to serve him, he'll get me back here. But he's not going to go fight. The king said to Zadok the priest, "Are you not a seer? Return to the city in peace, you and your 2 sons, and your son Amahaz and Jonathan, the son of Abiathar." Total commitment. These people on David's side had total commitment. Verse number 28 now. "See, I am going to wait at the fords of the wilderness until word comes from you to inform me." Therefore Zadok and Abiathar returned the ark of God to Jerusalem and remained there. And David went up to the ascent of the Mount of Olives. Now that little creek is over there. Now he's up on the Mount of Olives. And he wept as he went. Now this is where his son would come and weep on that rock the night before he was crucified. His great, 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 great grandson, Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth. And his head was covered and he walked barefooted. Then all the people who were with him each covered his head, and they went up weeping as they went. This is a preview of what's going to happen one of these days with Jesus. Now someone told David, saying, "Ahithophel is among the conspirators with Absalom." And David said, "O Lord, I pray, make the counsel of Ahithophel foolishness." And it happened that David was coming to the summit where God was worshipped. And behold, Hushai the Archite met him with his coat torn and dust on his head. A sign of weeping and a sign of just contriteness. And David said to him, "If you pass over with me, then you will be a burden to me. If you return to the city and say to Absalom, I will be your servant, O king, and I have been your father's servant in time past, so I will be your servant, then you will thwart the counsel of Ahithophel for me. Go and overcome the counsel of Ahithophel." David had good sense. God provided him with a mind and counsel. "And are not Zadok and Abiathar the priests with you there?" So it all would be that whatever you hear from the king's house, you shall report to Zadok and Abiathar the priests. Tell them, "Behold, their 2 sons are with him there, Ahimaaz and Zadok's son Jonathan, and Abiathar's son, and by them you shall send me everything that you hear." These are going to be the conveyors of the messages. So Hushai and David's friend came into the city, and Absalom came into the city. Absalom is a man of no conscience, a man of greed, a man of pride. And David was just almost exactly 180 degrees different. Absalom was a handsome man, the most handsome man in the land. He was like a super politician today. But God would use different ones and guide them in bringing them back, bringing David back into the city and over the nation of Israel, and giving peace again. But David would humble himself one more time before the Lord. Now when David had passed a little beyond the summit, behold, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, met him with a couple of saddle donkeys. And on them were 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of grapes, and 100 summer fruits, and a jug of wine. Now, this is food that will sustain you for a long period of time. And wine, they needed wine. Wine, the water so many times had bacteria or something in it that would make you sick. Paul told Timothy to drink a little wine for his stomach's sake. That meant he probably had occasional dysentery, and wine will cure that. I remember in 1975 or 76, I can't remember when I was in Jerusalem, probably 76. I was over there in 75 and 76 both. But I was in Damascus, Syria. And I was there for 13 days, I believe, if I remember right. And I would give them $1 for a bottle of water. And they were filling that water up right out of a faucet. And you couldn't drink the water. And I drank the water, and I felt like my stomach and bowels were a washing machine, and I got dysentery bad. I was sick, 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 sick. I got over to Jerusalem finally. We got over there, we went to Amman, Jordan. We went there. From Amman, Jordan, we went to Jerusalem, and we got over there, and things were a whole lot cleaner and more sanitary. Brother Cross came over with a bottle of wine and set it on my table. He said, "Brother Phillips, you are sick." And Paul told Timothy to drink a little wine for his stomach's sake. He said, "I'm going to tell you to drink this whole bottle of wine." He said, "You had shots and everything, but drink this bottle of wine. It will kill that bad bacteria." And he said, "Then go to bed." Well, I drank the whole bottle of wine and I went to bed, and the next day I was much better. Now back here, wine was necessary. They would get a used bottle of wine, which was a wine skin. It had stretched out. They couldn't use it for wine anymore, for fermenting. But they would pour water in it, and they would pour a certain percentage of wine in there to purify the water because of the alcohol in it. And so the wine was absolutely necessary, or everybody would have the Rocky Mountain quickstep, so to speak. So wine was necessary, and these are sustaining foods. 200 loaves of bread. And the loaves of bread was like a big tortilla. It was not something baked in an oven like we have today. 100 clusters of raisins. There you have constant energy, and 100 summer fruits, and a jug of wine. A jug of wine for purification. Not only could you use it for putting in water, but if you got hurt, cut or something, you could pour the wine on the cut. It was an anesthetic, purifier. And the king said to Ziba, "Why do you have these?" And Ziba said, "The donkeys are for the king's household to ride, and the bread and the summer food for the young men to eat, and the wine for whoever is faint in the wilderness to drink, whoever is sick in the wilderness. And when you get sick, drink it. Kill the bad bacteria." And the king said, "Where is your master's son?" And Ziba said to the king, "Behold, he is staying in Jerusalem. For he said, Today the house of Israel will restore the kingdom of my father to me." So the king said to Ziba, "Behold, all that belongs to Mephibosheth is yours." Mephibosheth had betrayed him. And Ziba said, "I prostrate myself, and let me find favor in your sight, O my lord, the king. Adonai ha-Adonai, Lord of lords and King of kings. You are my king." And when David came to Bahurim, behold, there came out there a man of the family of the house of Saul, Saul's family now, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gerah, and he came out cursing continually as he came. He came out cursing David. Now this is a man of the family of Saul. And he threw stones at David. And all the servants of King David, and all the people, and all the mighty men were at his right hand and at his left. These people could have wiped him out instantly. But David is humble. Thus Shimei said, when he cursed, get out, you man of bloodshed and worthless fellow." And the Lord returned upon you the bloodshed of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has given the kingdom into the hand of your son Absalom, and behold, you are taken in your own evil, for you are a man of bloodshed. And by the way, David protected Saul. David defended Saul. David did not kill Saul. David did not kill his sons. David protected his family. He was the opposite. This man is blaspheming against David. And David is righteous in this, except where he killed the Hittite. Then Abishai the son of Zeruiah said to the king, "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Let me go over there and cut his head off." And the king said, "What have I to do with you? O sons of Zeruiah, if he curses, and if the Lord has told him to curse, let him curse. Then you shall say, Why have you done so?" And David said to Abishai and all his servants, "Behold, my son who came out from me seeks my life. How much more now this Benjamite? Let him alone and let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do that." David had such a guilty conscience that he just said, "Well, I've got it coming. God must have told him to do this." Of course, God didn't. "Perhaps the Lord will look at my affliction and return good to me instead of cursing this day." So David and his men went on the way, and Shimei went along on the hillside parallel to them, juxtaposition, as he went, and cursed and cast stones and threw dust at him. And the king and all the people who were with him arrived weary, and he refreshed himself there. Then Absalom and all the people, the men of Israel, entered Jerusalem, and Ahithophel with him. Now it came about that when Hushai the Archite, David's friend, came to Absalom, and Hushai said to Absalom, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" And Absalom said to Hushai, "Is this your loyalty to your friend? Why did you not go with your friend?" That was his father. Hushai said to Absalom, For whom the Lord has this people, and all the men of Israel have chosen his will, I will be, and with him I will remain. And besides whom shall I serve? Should I not serve in the presence of his son? As I have served in your father's presence, so I will be in your presence." And Absalom said to Ahithophel, "Give your advice. What shall we do?" Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Go into your father's concubines. Go have sex with your father's concubines, with his wives, whom he has left to keep the house. And then all Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father, and the hands of all who are with you will also be strengthened." So he pitched a tent for Absalom on the rooftop of the house. And Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all Israel, openly, just like 2 Samuel 12 and 11 would say. And the advice of Ahithophel, which he gave to those days, was in one, as if one inquired the word of the Lord. So all the advice of Ahithophel regarded by both David and Absalom. Furthermore, chapter 17, Ahithophel said to Absalom, "Please let me choose 12,000 men, that I may arise and pursue David tonight. And I will come upon him while he is weary and exhausted, and will terrify him, so that all the people who are with him will flee. Then I will strike down the king alone, and I will bring back all the people to you. The return of everyone depends upon the man you seek, and all the people shall be at peace." So the plan pleased Absalom and all the elders of Israel. And Absalom said, "Now call Hushai and Archai also, and let us hear what they have to say." And when Hushai had come to Absalom, Absalom said to him, "Ahithophel has spoken thus, so shall we carry out his plan? If not, you speak." So Hushai said to Absalom, "This time the advice that Ahithophel has given to you is not good. Not good." Moreover, Hushai said, "You know your father and his men, and they are mighty men, and they are fierce like a bear when robbed of her cubs in the field. And your father is an expert in warfare. He's a great general, and will not spend the night with the people. Behold, he has now hidden himself in one of the caves, or another place. And he will be, when he falls upon them at the first attack, whoever hears this will say, Thus has been a slaughter among the people who follow Absalom. And even the one who is valiant whose heart is like the heart of a lion, will completely lose heart, for all Israel knows that your father is a mighty man, and those who are with him are valiant men. But I counsel you that all Israel be surely gathered to you from Dan to Beersheba, as the sand is by the seashore in abundance, so that you personally go into battle. So we shall come to him in one of the places where he can be found, and he will fall out, and we will fall out upon him as the dew falls on the ground, and of him and of all the men who are with him not one shall be left. And if he draws into the city, and all Israel shall bring ropes to the city, and we will drag it into the valley until not even a small stone is found there. And Absalom and all the men of Israel said, the counsel of Hushai the Archite is better than the counsel of Ahithophel. For the Lord had ordained to thwart the good counsel of Ahithophel in order to that the Lord might bring calamity upon Absalom. And that's where we'll quit for this lesson right now. Let's go back and look at it for a minute. God has an eternal purpose in all of our lives, for you and for me, all over the world. We need to listen to the Word of God and to the counsel of God. We need to remain with that. It's not our own ideas or our own affections that we are to follow, but the will of God. David, even though he sinned, Nathan said, you are forgiven and you will not die. He should have been executed for what he did. But he said, you will not die. But this will come upon you. You will have these griefs. You'll have these calamities. You're going to have these hard times, David. But you know, even through those hard times, I'm going to bring you through it. Because the Davidic covenant says that a son from him shall arise, and he shall be the King of kings and Lord of lords forever. Adonai Ha, the name. Our Father, we send this message out with humble hearts of our own. We watched the hard times of David. And of course it was so long ago, 2,800 years ago or so. It really happened. And David was a man after your heart. But he's also a man of the world too. He had the good things in his life and the bad things like we do. Please forgive us where we fail you. Help us to learn these lessons from your word. In Jesus' name we pray.